we're going to skim. That's actually
Let's get
vile.
this out of the way too. So Scarlett took a hold of Ralph's phone, leaked all these DMs with Alyssa Clips. I'm just going to say this right now. What the fuck is wrong with this stupid bitch? This is T-Clip syndrome. For those of you who don't know, years and years ago, there was a clip channel called T-Clips. And this is the thing. For clip channels, the gold standard is clip the content, post the content. The end. Anytime a clip channel tries to be more than that, it always ends in disaster. Even when it's something as simple as, oh, well, I'm going to do my own commentary, or I'm going to tweet, or I'm going to do this to, felt the lol cow or whatever. It always is cringe and shit because the clipper is not a character. They're a clipper. They're not a performer. They're not an entertainer. If they were, they wouldn't be a clipper, or they would just have a side clip thing that would be for clips. But for whatever reason, it's typically a female clip channel. I've only really seen this happen like twice. This and this now.
And yeah.
These female clip channels start to believe that they are the puppet master of the sector. They start to ensnare all of these simps into simping for them. They gather like a simp army by dangling like pictures, or I don't know. They start going into creators' DMs and they try and be like friends with everybody. They try and manipulate people into feuding with each other. They spread gossip around. They start touching the poo. When you do that, shit gets, not only that, but these clip channels, then they go to smaller channels and they try and dictate. This is what T-Clips would do with the Laurents. This is ancient lore. But I was rattled about this for years. Would go to these people and be like, you should make this content, or you should make this content. So they can puppeteer these small channels as their mouthpieces by being like, I'll give you exposure by putting you on my channel. I'll give you exposure by doing this or doing that. But the expectation is they now have to toe the line of a clip channel. That the clip channel now controls everything. The clip channel decides when you get publicity, when you don't. The clip channel is trying to pit people against each other. The clip channel's planning gay ops in people's DM. This shit has to stop. Alyssa has let the side down massively, and it'd be one thing if it was anyone else other than Ralph. But you're in the DMs with the literal devil.
Who doxes us and all this horrible shit.
He swats people.
It's a really
and
bad
you're
look.
in there plotting, who's going to get swatted, who's not going to get swatted. Why are you doing this? Why are you touching the poo? And I know the defense is going to be, well, because he's going to take down my clips of him. Then just don't clip him anymore. Just let him die. Let him go by the wayside into the fucking gutter.
Yeah.
But what I saw, I was fucking disgusted by.
I'm rattled.
And
I'm rattled
everybody's fucking rattled. Why are you doing this? Don't do this shit. That's all I really have to say.
And you start to think in your head, what is she telling people? What is she planning?
Well, that's the thing. This has probably been going on for years.
Yeah.
In everybody's DMs, trying to manipulate, start battles and drama. And I'm just tired of clip channels doing this. And it seems to be, and it's real. It's not just, most clip channels are fine.
Yeah.
99% of clip channels aren't doing this. For whatever reason, women in the sector who start clip channels start to believe that they're God, that they run everything, that everybody's stupid, that nobody will ever catch on to their manipulations. And this is the problem too. It's I don't even want to have to say this shit because we were cool with Alyssa. Alyssa's promoted us a lot.
Exactly.
We've used a lot of Alyssa's clips in the past, but I can't accept this shit. I can't accept you going into Ralph's DMs and plotting and scheming. And I know it's not just Ralph's DMs. If you're doing this with Ralph, you're probably doing this with everybody in the sector. This shit has to fucking stop now.
Stick to
immediately.
Clips.
And the truth is,
That's
it's not going to stop. She's going to dig in her heels. She's going to keep doing this fucking shit. And then honestly, the problem will take care of itself because the people that she's burned in these DMs or on Discord or whatever the fuck's going on, they're going to get pissed and they're going to take their revenge on her. I don't even know what to say. It's just such a fucking letdown. Why did you have to be like this? Why? So, her.
Last night, we very well may have seen the end of the Kino Casino. I've been really surprised at seeing like all the outrage and all the backlash. It seems like we're kind of at the end of the arc because we all knew it was coming. We all knew this wasn't sustainable. We all knew that eventually they would run out of locales to cover, and eventually they would go after the wrong person, and eventually they would antagonize their audience. It feels like they're kind of in that early phase, right, that Rekieta was in just before like Baldo Gate, right? Where they're just kind of like lashing out at their audience and making weird accusations and just sending people after individuals that don't really deserve it. It has that same kind of energy to it. And when I watched this clip, when I watched Ashton specifically, Andy just kind of sat there and did nothing, as always. But when I saw Ashton come out and try and accuse Alyssa Clips of being some like manipulative snake that was like using her womanly wiles to like somehow like destabilize the sector, like I'm just kind of like, wow. For someone who looks like a lesbian, Ashton sure hates women. But more than that, though, like what we're seeing is just the kind of insane projection that you can only see from someone who's just really desperately trying to like retain relevancy. Because Alyssa going out and talking to people behind the scenes, there's nothing inherently wrong with that. You know, Ashton is essentially accusing her of doing something that like he would do, of like going to a content creator, interacting with them, bringing them on the show, and then like endlessly milking them for content, right? You know, we saw this with Rekieta, we saw this with Steel Toe, we saw this with DSP. You know, it's happened like over and over the years. The idea that like a clip channel cannot have a personality and like interact with other like content creators is just insane. It doesn't make any sense. I would say the reason Alyssa has been so successful as a clip channel is because, you know, she networks with people, she puts herself out there, you know, she tries to help people when like, you know, they have issues with their channels or whatever. You know, I told this story when it happened. Alyssa hooked me up with like Duty Clips, right? Duty Clips helped me try to get my my video reinstated after the quartering took it down, right? It was Alyssa who set that up. So, like, the idea that, like, she's, like, manipulative and that she's trying to, like, undermine the sector, it just seems like pure projection on PPP's part. Like, it really just feels as if he is very, very upset at Alyssa for essentially, I think, undermining his content. Because I think in a lot of ways, because I've seen people say this, like, it feels like clip channels kind of take away the impact that Kino Casino has. Because every time they go live and they start talking about things, a lot of the time clip channels have gone over it already and they don't really add a whole lot, especially Andy. Like, a lot of times they just sit there and just go like, whoa, buddy, and just hit on triangles, right? They don't really add all that much to the overall content. Like, in a lot of ways, you're probably better off watching like raw, like clip channels like Alyssa Clips than like actually watching Kino Casino. And I think, like, Ashton's beginning to realize this, that, like, his channel and, like, the content he produces is very, very limited in scope because he can't branch out outside of sector personalities just collapsing, okay? Because that's what's, like, really caused Kino Casino to boom, right? You know, Rekieta's downfall, like, the quartering's downfall, Ethan Ralph, DSP was kind of unusual because he wasn't really a sector personality, but DSP is so ubiquitous to sector stuff, he might as well be like an honorary sector person. Like, what we're seeing is that like Ashton being concerned that someone like Alyssa can come in and kind of undermine his own perceived authority, because I think that's what Kino Casino was trying to gun for, that they wanted like their own equivalent of the Sweetie Squad. They wanted to be able to like send out people whatever they wanted, like that massive gym audience, and they wanted to have the pool to like kind of make radical like decisions on like what the community thinks about things. They wanted like that level of like influence and success. And I think that like they never quite managed it. Like they came very close, but like I think the issue like fundamentally was, and other people have said this, that Andy Worski himself contributes absolutely nothing to the show other than like tech support. And even that has been like fucking up sometimes. Like, I remember a couple of weeks back, they had that weird hiccup at the start. And I'm told in the most recent show, like they had all these like crashes and all this stuff. Like I'm told that like Andy is back on coke. I don't know how true that is. But like, I'm watching like what's been happening. And it feels like, with the Jer stuff kind of winding down, kind of reaching its natural conclusion, they don't really have a whole lot to talk about. They took a whole week off, and then they come back, and then they do this thing, like, start spurging out on Alyssa, and they don't really do a whole lot else, okay? You look at, like, what they've been covering, and it's just, like, the same stale, boring, quartering stuff that they've been covering for the past couple of weeks. Like, what we're seeing is a show that's in terminal decline, or germinal decline, I should say, because 90% of these shows are like quartering clips now. Like what we're seeing is that like Kino Casino had a brief resurgence of relevancy because of the quartering, and now they're at the point where like all of that is collapsing and they don't know what to do next. There's no like major situation, there's no controversy, there is no content. So as a result of that, they're starting to lash out at anybody that's in their periphery vision, hoping desperately that they can find someone to target next. They're going to be like calling it all the favors. They're going to be going after Angry Joe. They're going to be going after Alyssa. They're going to be going after all sorts of weird people that you never really expected them to go after. Like, again, because they are so desperate. They are so anxious to keep this grift going for as long as possible. They are not willing to get real jobs. They are not willing to become successful. They are not willing to like work hard or do anything other than spurg out over like over things that like other content creators do on the internet. Like the reason for this Alyssa crash out, and I do think this is important, it's entirely because she DM'd someone. Like that's it. There's really no other like thing to be upset about, and yet for some reason they seriously thought it was a good idea to like act as if that was some like egregious thing. And I'm sorry, but it just isn't. Okay, Alyssa runs a clip channel. She monetizes her content. Like it makes sense for her to communicate with the people she clips and like set boundaries and like discuss like what's to be done, because Ethan Ralph is kind of a difficult person to work with. I believe he does actively take down content on YouTube that features him. I've had a couple of videos taken down over the years with him in it. Like I think it's perfectly reasonable for like Alyssa to like try and network with him because she covers him so much. Like why wouldn't she? Like it makes perfect sense to do that. Like I don't understand why there's such an issue with a woman DMing someone for like business related reasons. Like I don't understand what the issue with that is. Like all of Ashton's talk about how she's like manipulating people, I think that's pure projection, and it really does need to be spelled out that this isn't okay. You can't just accuse people of doing something that they aren't actually doing. And this has been a problem with like Kino Casino for a long time. I would say even before the show, is that Ashton will actively make things up about people if he thinks he can make content about it. And I haven't caught him doing it in a long time, but I do think this is a pretty good example of that, is that there is no indication that like Alyssa Clips is some kind of like evil mastermind that's trying to like undermine the sector or whatever. That is just pure delusional cope.